Take it off, please, she begged, her voice raw, trembling like the last note of a dying song. The lantern light flickered across her torn dress, dust clinging to her skin, blood dried where the rope had cut her wrists. Outside, the wind howled across the plains, carrying the scent of rain and gunpowder. Inside, the rancher stood still, his hands hovering midair, his jaw locked tight. He had found her an hour ago, half buried under the wreckage of a burned wagon, her family dead, her name unknown. She wasn't supposed to live. She wasn't supposed to open her eyes, whisper his name, or look at him like that. Like she knew him. The rancher, Caleb Rowan, hadn't heard someone plead like that since the war. Since his brother had begged for mercy on a field of mud and smoke. The sound of her voice tore open every scar he'd buried. Her dress clung to her like a brand of shame. The bandits had left her with nothing but a ripped sleeve and the memory of their cruelty. She wasn't asking him for sin. She was asking him to save what little dignity she had left. Caleb took a breath, steady, like a man about to face a storm. "You sure?" he asked, voice low, thick as whiskey. She nodded. "Please." His fingers trembled as he untied the last knot, the fabric slipping away to reveal bruises shaped by another man's rage. Her skin was a battlefield, every mark a story of what she'd survived. Caleb swallowed hard, his heart thudding like hooves in his chest. He didn't dare look too long, didn't dare touch her more than needed. He turned, threw his coat around her shoulders. It was too big, swallowing her whole, but it carried the scent of cedar smoke and safety. She shivered once, then leaned forward, her forehead pressing against his chest. Caleb froze again. He hadn't been held in years. Not since his wife's grave had turned to dust beneath the cottonwoods. He'd built his life out of fences and silence, out where no one could find him. And yet here she was, fragile, desperate, bleeding, and something inside him shifted. "What's your name?" he asked. "Clara," she whispered. "Clara May." He nodded slowly, the sound of her name rolling in his chest like thunder over the hills. He didn't know what made him say it next. Maybe the way she looked up at him, or maybe the part of him that had been waiting for something to come back to life. "You'll stay here," he said. "Ain't safe out there no more." She blinked at him. "You don't even know me." Caleb's mouth twisted in something like a smile. "Don't need to. You're here. That's enough." He built her a room beside his own, nailed the boards by lantern light, the sound of his hammer echoing through the dark. Days passed into weeks. She healed slow, her laughter soft and unsure, like a colt learning to walk again. He'd find her by the corral sometimes, feeding the horses, her hair catching sunlight. Then one morning, she came to him with a paper in her hand, a marriage license, wrinkled and unsigned. "Sheriff said I can't stay without a name," she murmured. "Without a husband." Caleb stared at the paper, then at her, the silence between them heavy as summer heat. He thought of his late wife's locket, still hanging over the fireplace. He thought of Clara's voice that night, begging him to take off her chains, begging him to see her as something more than what she'd been made to endure. And when he looked at her, really looked, he realized he already had. She wasn't a stranger anymore. She was the reason his heart had started to beat again. The wind rattled the window panes as he reached for the pen. His hand didn't shake this time. Not when he wrote his name beside hers. When it was done, she looked up at him, tears glimmering in her eyes. "Why'd you do it?" she whispered. Caleb brushed a thumb along her jaw, his voice rough but steady. "Because you asked me to take it off, Clara, and I did. The pain, the past, the loneliness." He stepped closer, the light catching the edge of his smile. "And now," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I reckon it's time to start living again." Clara didn't move at first. Her breath hitched as she watched him. This quiet, haunted man who carried grief like a second skin. His eyes were the color of storm clouds before rain, heavy with things unsaid. The air between them felt alive, trembling, waiting. Outside, the wind eased. A single shaft of light cut through the window, laying across the table where the marriage paper still sat, the ink not yet dry. Clara reached out, tracing his name with a trembling fingertip. "Caleb Rowan," she said softly, as if speaking it made it real. "You really mean to keep me here?" He nodded once. "I don't take to letting go easy. Not of things that matter." Her heart stuttered. No one had ever said she mattered. Not her father, not the men who had taken her, not anyone. The thought ached inside her like a wound she didn't want to heal. He saw the flicker in her eyes and stepped closer, slow, deliberate. like approaching a wild mare that had been kicked too many times. He didn't reach for her, just stood near enough for her to feel his warmth. "You don't owe me nothing," he said. "Not your thanks, not your body. Just be here. That's all." Clara's lips parted, but no words came. She wanted to speak, to tell him how he'd pulled her back from a darkness she thought would never end, but all she could do was nod. That night, she lay awake in the small room he'd built her, listening to the soft crackle of the fire from the main room. Every sound was unfamiliar. The steady rhythm of boots on wooden floors, the creak of the rocking chair, the low hum of a man thinking too much. And then, quiet. The kind of quiet that made her feel safe. She slipped from her bed, bare feet brushing against the cool floorboards, and peeked through the doorway. Caleb sat by the fire, his hat in his hands, the flames painting his face in gold and shadow. His wedding ring, old, worn, still on his finger, caught the light. He was staring at it like a man at war with his own heart. Couldn't sleep? His voice broke the silence, calm but knowing. Clara stepped into the light, pulling his coat tighter around her. "Didn't mean to wake you." He shook his head, gesturing to the empty chair beside him. "Ain't sleeping much anyhow. Sit." She did. The warmth of the fire seeped into her bones. For a long while, they said nothing. Just the pop of burning wood and the whisper of wind outside. Then Caleb spoke, eyes still on the flames. "My wife's name was Eliza. Died 3 winters ago. Fever took her fast." Clara's throat tightened. "I'm sorry." He nodded slowly. "Ain't your sorrow to bear. But I thought, when I saw you that day, half dead and fighting to breathe, I thought maybe I was seeing what I couldn't save before." She turned to him, her voice barely a breath. And now, he met her gaze, something raw flickering in his eyes. "Now I ain't sure who's Savon who." The words hung there, heavy and true. Clara's hand moved before her mind could stop it, resting over his. His skin was rough, scarred, but warm. He didn't pull away, didn't even flinch, just stared at their joined hands like it was something sacred. Then, with a quiet breath, she said, "You don't have to wear that ring anymore." Caleb looked down at the silver band, then back at her. "A man don't take off his past easy." "I'm not a skin you two," she said softly. "Just make room for me beside it." For the first time in years, Caleb smiled. Not the kind he gave to strangers, but the kind that cracked something open inside him. He stood, slow and deliberate, then reached out a hand to her. "Come sunrise," he murmured. "We'll start over. You, me, this land." Her fingers slipped into his. "And the past." He glanced toward the window, where dawn's first light touched the horizon. "The past can stay buried," he said. "But I reckon it can't stop us from building something new." The fire burned low, the world outside turning gold and red. And for the first time, Clara felt like she wasn't running anymore. She was home. Then Caleb leaned close, voice barely a whisper, warm against her ear. "From now on, Clara May Rowan, you ain't got nothing to beg for."